All righty. In the two diagrams, what's congruent? AB is congruent to what? AC and ED and DF. All those are congruent because they're all radii of the circle. And if this radius is the same as this radius, then those two would be the same. 123 is congruent to 123. And any other angles congruent? Well, if we think about this, if this is 3, this is 3, what type of a triangle is this? Isosceles, right? Two sides are congruent. If we use the isosceles triangle theorem, that angle and that angle would be congruent to each other, right? And so all the angles are congruent. And you got side angle side that's congruent. So those two triangles are congruent, right? So EF has to be 5.27, right? Because those two triangles are congruent. Which shows that if these angles are the same and these radii are the same, then the length of that chord is the same. And what is a chord, you say? Well, a chord is a segment whose endpoints are on the circle. So SR is a chord, TU is a chord, SU is a chord, TR is a chord. Okay, those are all chords of the circle. So a chord is a segment whose endpoints are on the circle. All right. So, is SQ a chord? Nope. That's a radius. Same as TQ, Q, U, and QR are radii. Okay? All right, it says, why is RS congruent to UT? All right, why is this congruent to this? Well, what kind of triangles do we have here? Isosceles. This is congruent to this, and this is congruent to this. And the central angles are vertical angles, right? And vertical angles are congruent. So if these two angles are congruent, and you have side angle side here, these have to be congruent to that. Okay? Whole bunch of congruent stuff in these. So, if this is congruent to this, then this angle is congruent to this angle. Otherwise, going the other direction, if this angle is congruent to this angle, that makes this side congruent to this side. Okay? If this arc is congruent to this arc, that means this chord is congruent to this chord. And 11 our time. Yep. And if this chord is congruent to this chord, this arc is congruent to this arc. All right. And if this is congruent to this, they're the same distance away from the center. Okay? So lots of congruent stuff going on today. All right. So if CD is 40, then how long is CG, do you think? 20. And GD? 20. And how long would BF be, do you think? 20 and 20. Because if this is congruent to this, they're the same distance away from the center, then this is congruent to this. Okay? All right. All right. If we're perpendicular to a diameter here, if a chord is perpendicular to a diameter, it cuts that chord in half. There's lots of theorems. If these two are congruent, then this is perpendicular. Okay. So, now to the problems that make you want to think a little bit. Fresh cut flowers need to be in at least 4 inches of water. This spherical vase, and I don't know how it sits up. Okay, I would think it would just tip over because it's small. But whatever. The spherical vase is filled until the surface of the water is 5 inches in diameter. Is the water deep enough for the flowers? Yes or no? Okay. All right. So now, if this is 6 inches across, how far is it here? 3 and 3 and 3. That's important there. Okay. And how long is that? 3. Ooh, I just made a right triangle. This one right up here, right there, is how far? 2.5. If I have two sides of a right triangle, how do I find the third side? Pythagorean theorem. C squared equals a squared plus b squared. 3, because that's the hypotenuse and the radius. 3 squared equals 2.5 squared plus b squared. 9 equals 6.25 plus b squared. Subtract 6.25 from each side. So you get 2.75 equals b squared. Take the square root. What does b equal? What's the square root of 2.75? 1.7. So if this is 1.7, 1.7 plus 3 is 4.7. The depth of the water is 4.7. It needs at least 4. Is the depth of the water enough? Sure is. Now let's go to the fishies. Goldfish require 50 square inches of water surface to be healthy. So that's the top. So if you're looking down on the tank, if you're looking down on it, this circle needs to be 50 square inches. Okay? In this bowl, how many fish can live if the water is that height? All right. So this dimension is what that I just drew? This line right here is how long? From the middle of the bowl down. 6. 6. 6. Okay. So this is 8 high. So if this is 6, this is 2, right? Using the Pythagorean theorem, I want to figure out how long that is. Okay? So 6 squared, the hypotenuse squared, equals 2 squared plus x squared. 36 equals 4 plus x squared. 32 equals x squared. Take square root. X equals what? What's the square root of 32? What? 5.7. All right. So that's a radius here is 5.7. Okay? To find the area of a circle is pi r squared. Well, we just took if x is 5.7, if you square it, it's 32, right? So the area is 32 pi, because the square root of 32 is 5.7, so 5.7 squared is 32. Take 32 times 3.14. What do you get? How many fish can live in there? 2. 2 fish. Red fish, blue fish. I don't know. What's that, Dr. Seuss? 1 fish, 2 fish, red fish, blue fish? That's the name of that book? Yeah. All right. So, basically, fairly straightforward. Use the Pythagorean theorem a little bit, but it's just this is the same as this, and this is the same as this, and you just kind of work your way through it. You're going to have a lot of extra time today, because I don't want to do too much today, and you are the benefactors of that. So, we will do just one section and call it good. Tomorrow we'll take a quiz over this.